government buildings. It's as if someone wants to erase our
Celebrating 25 years of BET.
These jokers started showing up. I was like, no, you were here first. You can have it.
When Hollywood's biggest stars stepped onto the red carpet at the 25th annual BET Awards, everyone expected unforgettable performances, stunning outfits, and some carefully crafted viral moments. But nobody, absolutely nobody, anticipated that the evening's biggest revelation would come from Tyler Perry, one of Hollywood's most respected and famously discreet power players. Perry wasn't known for stirring up drama. He built his empire on subtlety, kindness, and quiet generosity. So when he took to the stage and started dropping subtle yet devastating truths about Meghan Markle, jaws dropped across the auditorium, Twitter erupted in chaos, and Meghan's carefully polished world began unraveling in real time. Perry's speech didn't come across as angry or malicious. Far from it. His voice was calm, his words gentle, but the implications were explosive enough to leave an undeniable crater in Meghan and Prince Harry's carefully managed public image. For years, Meghan had painstakingly constructed a narrative of a woman unfairly targeted by the royal family, the media, and society itself. She had positioned herself as an icon of independence, resilience, and empowerment. But in a matter of minutes, Perry quietly dismantled it all, exposing a hidden reality of entitlement, unpaid debts, and relationships built on convenience rather than loyalty. What did Tyler Perry reveal at the BET Awards that had Meghan Markle scrambling behind the scenes? Why did Hollywood's biggest allies suddenly turn their backs on the once-beloved Duchess? And most importantly, what exactly had Meghan done to push one of her closest supporters to publicly call her out in front of millions? Buckle up, because the truth behind Meghan Markle's rapid fall from grace is about to unfold. And it's more shocking than anyone imagined. When Tyler Perry stepped onto the brightly lit stage at the 2025 BET Awards, the room initially greeted him with warm applause. After all, Perry had spent decades earning his reputation not just as a powerful studio executive and filmmaker, but as someone who always stood quietly on the right side of history. He was the industry's dependable voice of reason, often called upon to mediate conflicts behind closed doors, not ignite them on live TV. But tonight, something was different. Perry's usual calm demeanor had an edge. As he started speaking, attendees quickly realized he wasn't there just to celebrate Black excellence or to deliver an inspirational anecdote. Instead, he launched into a carefully worded story, one he clearly rehearsed, not for drama, but to make sure his point landed exactly as intended. Perry recounted how he'd once opened his home and heart to friends who needed support at their lowest moments. He described generously offering up his Beverly Hills mansion, covering extensive security expenses, and even quietly handling unpaid bills, all gestures made from a place of genuine compassion. Perry didn't name names directly, but as his voice gently rose with intensity, he delivered a line that sent chills through the crowd. Some folks borrow blessings, like they're owed, but never return the favor. A murmur immediately swept through the audience, rippling outward as attendees exchanged stunned glances. Everyone knew exactly whom Perry was referring to, even without explicit mention. Cameras cautiously avoided panning to Meghan Markle's usual Hollywood allies scattered throughout the room, but social media didn't hesitate to connect the dots. Twitter exploded with speculation in seconds. Tyler Perry just called out Meghan Markle on live TV? Did Tyler Perry just reveal Meghan Markle's debts at the BET Awards? Instantly, Meghan Markle bet and Tyler Perry exposed began trending globally, dominating social media feeds with intense debate and memes that captured the collective shock. Millions tuned in online as the realization set in. Meghan Markle, who had carefully cultivated the image of a fiercely independent woman who escaped royal oppression, had apparently been depending on and possibly exploiting one of Hollywood's most generous figures for years. But Perry's subtle bombshell didn't just affect public opinion. It shattered Meghan's carefully crafted Hollywood reputation in real time. As Perry calmly wrapped up his speech, concluding with the understated yet loaded remark, "Sometimes silence becomes complicity, and tonight I choose not to remain silent anymore," he effectively ignited an industry-wide reckoning.
Or African American stories specific to a certain audience, specific to a certain group of people that I know that I grew up with, and we speak a language. Hollywood doesn't necessarily speak the language. A lot of critics.
Moments after he left the stage, Hollywood insiders began discreetly texting. Agents scrambled into damage control mode, and journalists raced to confirm exactly what debts Perry was alluding to. Meghan Markle's carefully maintained facade had just taken a critical blow, and Perry's quiet, precise words had sliced through her narrative far more effectively than any tabloid exposé ever could. And yet, even with all the chaos erupting online and behind the scenes, the full truth was only just beginning to emerge. Because Tyler Perry's BET Awards revelation was merely the first domino in a series of explosive events that would soon rip Meghan Markle's entire world apart. But how did their once close friendship deteriorate to this public breaking point? What exactly pushed Perry, the usually discreet Hollywood power player, to finally go public with his grievances? The real story, filled with entitlement, secret financial disputes, and calculated manipulations, was even darker than the audience could imagine. To fully grasp the gravity of Tyler Perry's BET Awards revelation, it's crucial to rewind to the start of this unlikely Hollywood friendship. Back in 2020, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry shocked the world when they abandoned their royal duties, choosing a new life in America. It was a bold, dramatic move that left the Sussexes effectively stranded, without a clear home base or even basic protections from the relentless scrutiny of the paparazzi. Enter Tyler Perry, Hollywood's gentle giant known not just for his creative genius, but his extraordinary generosity. When Meghan and Harry needed help the most, Perry stepped forward without hesitation. Perry didn't just open the doors to his luxurious $18 million Beverly Hills mansion, he essentially handed them the keys to a new life. He covered their staggering security expenses, quietly settled outstanding bills, and provided unwavering emotional support. At the time, it appeared to be nothing more than one friend helping another through an unimaginably tough period. Perry himself downplayed the gesture, maintaining his characteristic modesty and discretion. But privately, as months turned into years, cracks began forming in their relationship. Friends close to Perry started noticing he seemed burdened, often hinting that his kindness was increasingly taken for granted. Insiders recall Perry initially brushing off concerns, insisting it was just part of being a friend. Yet, it wasn't long before their friendship began tilting dangerously out of balance, and Perry found himself trapped in a one-sided exchange of endless favors. Tension reached a boiling point when Meghan made what she reportedly described as a simple request: access to Perry's private jet. To Meghan, it might have seemed like a small ask. After all, Perry had given so generously before. But this request felt different to Perry. Sources close to the mogul revealed that Meghan never once discussed logistics or expenses, seemingly assuming Perry would foot the bill without question. Feeling used and disrespected, Perry politely declined. That refusal sparked an intense reaction from Meghan, who allegedly confronted Perry, accusing him of betraying their friendship. This moment became pivotal, revealing the depth of entitlement Perry had begun to resent. But it was just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, whispers intensified. Friends and associates began warning Perry privately about Meghan's reputation for using powerful connections as stepping stones. One producer even reportedly cautioned, "Meghan doesn't repay favors, she collects them." Another insider described her approach as social currency, accumulating powerful names and connections, only to discard them when they ceased serving her agenda. Still, Perry maintained public silence, attempting to preserve dignity and loyalty. But privately, his frustration mounted. What started as genuine goodwill evolved into resentment, and slowly, a sense of betrayal began to harden. Meghan, meanwhile, seemed unaware, or indifferent, to Perry's growing disappointment, continuing to call on favors as though they were owed rather than gifted. For Perry, it was becoming painfully clear he'd been mistaken about the true nature of their relationship from the very beginning. But the private jet incident wasn't even the final breaking point. The real betrayal, as Perry later hinted, was even deeper and far more personal. By 2025, Tyler Perry had reached his limit. The Hollywood heavyweight, known for his dignified silence and carefully controlled public persona, had quietly weathered years of frustration without ever publicly uttering a critical word. But behind his calm exterior was mounting pressure. Friends, colleagues, even trusted staff had begun urging Perry to speak out. And now, he finally had a reason strong enough to break his lifelong code of silence.
Entertainment mogul Tyler Perry, who offered up his Beverly Hills mansion to Meghan and Harry.
Insiders revealed that Perry's tipping point wasn't a single extravagant request or unpaid bill. It was Meghan's increasing willingness to exploit his reputation without permission. According to those close to Perry, the final straw came early in 2024 during an exclusive closed-door investor pitch meeting Meghan attended. In a brazen attempt to secure funding for a major media venture, Meghan casually implied that Tyler Perry was quietly backing her project, leveraging his name without consent. The funding circle was impressed. Who wouldn't trust a project supposedly endorsed by Tyler Perry himself? When Perry heard about Meghan's move through stunned colleagues, he was reportedly livid. This wasn't just about money, it was a direct attack on Perry's personal integrity and credibility. Meghan hadn't merely failed to repay kindness, she'd weaponized it, dragging Perry's name into private business deals without so much as asking his permission. Suddenly, the consequences of Perry's silence became crystal clear. His good name, carefully built over decades of hard work and impeccable integrity, was being co-opted and misused by someone he had trusted implicitly. Close friends revealed that Perry agonized privately over how to respond, caught between his innate desire to avoid drama and the pressing need to defend himself. Months of silence followed as Perry grappled with his next move, quietly consulting trusted confidants, weighing the damage to his reputation against the backlash he might receive by going public. Eventually, Perry realized he had no choice. Meghan's casual use of his name had already reached powerful industry insiders, potentially jeopardizing his own future collaborations. He understood the stakes clearly. Silence would mean complicity, and Tyler Perry, respected precisely because of his integrity, wasn't willing to sacrifice his reputation just to keep the peace. Thus, the stage at the BET Awards became Perry's carefully chosen battleground. Not a platform for revenge, but a place to reclaim control of his narrative, protect his name, and finally draw a line between generosity and exploitation. His speech wasn't loud or confrontational. It was meticulously crafted to ensure each word resonated deeply with its intended target, without giving room for misunderstanding. His now infamous line about borrowed blessings and silence becoming complicity landed precisely as intended, subtly alerting everyone watching that Tyler Perry was no longer willing to quietly tolerate being used as Meghan Markle's personal stepping stone. As Perry exited the stage, he left no ambiguity about his stance. While the audience applauded his bravery, social media lit up with frenzied speculation. Even longtime allies within Hollywood began to privately commend his courage, relieved that someone finally had the strength and credibility to challenge Meghan's carefully protected narrative. But the true depth of Perry's rebellion was only beginning to unfold. His subtle call-out wasn't just personal, it was strategic, designed to set off a chain reaction of revelations that would rapidly spiral far beyond his control. What happened next shocked even Perry himself, as his quiet rebellion exploded into a full-blown Hollywood mutiny against Meghan Markle, and things would never be the same again. The ripple effect from Tyler Perry's carefully worded BET Awards speech didn't take hours or days. It hit Meghan Markle and Prince Harry within minutes. As soon as Perry stepped off that stage, the carefully crafted foundations of Meghan and Harry's Hollywood empire began to crumble at an astonishing speed. Behind closed doors, panic set in almost instantly. Industry insiders were already distancing themselves, whispering quietly in corridors, and firing off discreet messages to disentangle their names from Meghan's quickly unraveling brand. Just hours after Perry's subtle yet devastating critique aired live, the first major blow landed. A top-tier producer who'd enthusiastically joined Meghan and Harry's newest Netflix documentary about power and freedom abruptly pulled support. According to leaked conversations, the producer simply stated, "I can't associate my reputation with something that feels this toxic." This wasn't a minor setback. This producer's credibility had been key in securing funding, distribution, and celebrity endorsements. Without them, the project faced immediate collapse.
I've been with you all week, from Carrie's ceremony, last night premiere, and now this.
In different fashion every night.
And different, you too. And now this moment.
Next, investors who had tentatively committed millions began quietly walking away, canceling meetings and cutting off discussions mid-negotiation. One prominent financier bluntly told colleagues, backing them now would be career suicide. Hollywood, a town built on mutual favors and carefully managed reputations, rarely abandons high-profile figures overnight, but this was no ordinary circumstance. Tyler Perry wasn't some tabloid writer or gossip columnist. He was a highly respected industry veteran whose credibility far outweighed Meghan's carefully curated public image. As news of the BET speech dominated headlines and flooded social media timelines, Meghan's public relations team at Archewell scrambled into damage control. Frantic phone calls and urgent emails were made, desperately attempting to shift the narrative. They reached out to influential journalists, promising exclusive insights, behind-the-scenes footage, and even floated the idea of Meghan delivering a heartfelt rebuttal via a special podcast episode. But rather than calming the storm, their rushed response only fueled further suspicion. Seasoned reporters recognized the overt desperation, sensing something deeper at play. The harder Archewell's PR team pushed, the more obvious their panic became. Even the normally sympathetic media outlets, who previously lined up to publish glowing profiles about Meghan's strength and resilience, began turning away. Editors whispered warnings. Aligning with Meghan Markle now felt dangerously risky, a move guaranteed to draw intense criticism and online backlash. Instead of rallying to Meghan's defense, the media stepped back cautiously, leaving her more isolated than ever before. Inside Archewell itself, confusion quickly turned to chaos. Staffers found themselves pulled into emergency meetings where they were informed about frozen budgets, halted hiring processes, and suddenly paused projects. One insider revealed the internal mood, saying, "People were genuinely scared. It felt like everything was collapsing at once, and nobody had answers." Meghan and Harry, once untouchable figures who seemed destined to reshape Hollywood's landscape, now watched their vision disintegrate into uncertainty and distrust. But if Meghan believed the situation couldn't worsen, she was tragically mistaken. Tyler Perry's statement wasn't just a personal grievance. It was a trigger. Soon, others who'd silently tolerated Meghan's demands and manipulations began stepping forward with their own unsettling accounts, forever changing how the world saw Meghan Markle. In the days following Tyler Perry's BET Awards revelation, Archewell became a frantic command center, operating in a state of continuous panic. Meghan's carefully curated Hollywood circle, once her greatest strength, now seemed like her biggest liability. Her team worked overtime, drafting public statements, making strategic phone calls, and pleading privately with industry insiders to stand by her. But their pleas mostly fell on deaf ears. The damage was already done, and the tide had irreversibly turned. Archewell's PR specialists immediately attempted a counteroffensive, painting Perry's speech as a misguided misunderstanding, a bitter mischaracterization of a private friendship. But journalists weren't buying it. Major media outlets quickly realized there was more to this story than Archewell was willing to admit, sensing vulnerability behind the veneer. Every rushed statement Archewell released only raised more questions, fueling speculation rather than calming it. Why would someone as respected as Tyler Perry risk his reputation without cause? Became the question on everyone's mind. Desperate to regain control, Meghan's team floated plans for an exclusive tell-all interview, a strategy previously used effectively in the past to evoke public sympathy. But this time, the approach backfired dramatically. Insiders leaked that networks flatly refused, wary of being manipulated into broadcasting damage control disguised as transparency. One veteran journalist famously remarked off the record, "We've all seen this playbook before. Nobody wants to be complicit in cleaning up someone else's mess." Meanwhile, Meghan herself reportedly oscillated between fury and disbelief. Close friends revealed that she bombarded Perry with angry, accusatory text messages, expressing outrage at what she considered a shocking betrayal. But Perry's phone stayed silent. No apologies, no explanations, no damage control, just silence. His lack of response spoke volumes, reinforcing the authenticity and gravity of his accusations. For Meghan, this was uncharted territory. The woman who carefully managed every interaction, controlled every narrative, and dictated terms in relationships suddenly found herself ignored by someone she had presumed would always support her.
The fact that you can say it does exist, that there was a...
These two people love each other. They found each other out of all these odds against them finding each other, they found each other, and the love that they have is really, really...
Internally, Archewell faced intense scrutiny, with employees describing the atmosphere as tense and emotionally charged. Projects were halted, and meetings became increasingly fraught, as executives debated how to salvage what remained of their reputation. One senior staffer later revealed, "It felt like we were firefighting every day, but each time we thought we had a handle on the flames, another crisis would erupt." Even more troublingly, trusted Hollywood allies, who once eagerly aligned with Meghan's progressive image, now distanced themselves publicly. Oprah Winfrey's notable silence was deafening, a clear sign of shifting loyalties. Rumors began to circulate that Oprah, sensing a PR disaster, deliberately instructed her team to avoid comment, neither confirming nor denying support. The message was unmistakable. Meghan was on her own. For Archewell and Meghan Markle, the nightmare was only beginning. Perry's public criticism had been the spark, but the deeper problem was rapidly becoming clear. Meghan wasn't just dealing with one disgruntled former friend. She was facing a chorus of voices, each echoing Perry's accusations of entitlement, exploitation, and manipulation. And as more people spoke out, the question on everyone's mind was clear. Had Meghan Markle finally lost control over the very narrative she spent years carefully building? Or was Tyler Perry's shocking revelation simply the beginning of something even darker and more destructive to come? What started as Tyler Perry's quiet rebellion soon evolved into a full-blown avalanche of allegations against Meghan Markle. For years, whispers of Meghan's controlling behavior, unrealistic demands, and relentless pursuit of perfection circulated quietly behind closed doors. But after Perry publicly drew the first blood, those whispers turned into loud and unignorable accusations. Former staffers who had previously signed strict NDAs began cautiously stepping forward, emboldened by Perry's courage. Their stories painted a disturbing picture of life inside Meghan's carefully managed world. One former Archewell assistant described an environment of constant emotional exhaustion, revealing, "Meghan's expectations weren't just high, they were impossible. Every small mistake was treated like a crisis. Loyalty wasn't earned, it was demanded." Another ex-staffer echoed the sentiment, recalling instances where team members were abruptly cut off and sidelined if they dared question Meghan's strategic choices, describing it as a place where gratitude went to die. But it wasn't just junior employees who spoke out. Influential Hollywood insiders, once carefully neutral, began sharing their own troubling experiences. A high-profile producer involved in Meghan and Harry's ill-fated Spotify deal claimed that Meghan's obsession with total creative control essentially sabotaged their entire podcast strategy. "Every fresh idea we presented was shot down immediately," the producer recounted bitterly. "She didn't want collaboration, she wanted compliance. Creativity died on the vine." Even Meghan's previously rock-solid relationships began publicly unraveling. Oprah Winfrey, who had famously provided Meghan with one of her most powerful platforms during that bombshell 2021 interview, quietly stepped away. Sources close to Oprah confirmed that communication between the two camps had dwindled to near silence long before Perry's BET speech. Oprah's intentional lack of public support following the BET Awards was viewed universally as a silent condemnation, causing further damage to Meghan's already crumbling image. Most damaging of all were the claims from those closest to Tyler Perry. Trusted members of his inner circle revealed that Perry had been emotionally cornered and manipulated for years, caught between wanting to help a friend in genuine need and growing frustrated with what he felt was ongoing exploitation. Perry reportedly confided privately, "Every time I gave, it was never enough." Each favor led to another expectation, another demand. Eventually, generosity turned into obligation, and that's not friendship. It's manipulation. The collective weight of these accusations was devastating. Unlike previous criticism, which Meghan could dismiss as sensationalist tabloid gossip, these allegations came from respected professionals, trusted insiders, and former allies. It wasn't gossip. It was credible, verified first-hand testimony. And because of that, the impact was irreversible. Meghan's carefully constructed public narrative, built on empowerment and resilience, now appeared undeniably manufactured. But the revelations didn't stop there. Soon, the financial consequences began catching up, delivering a gut punch to Meghan's already vulnerable empire, an empire that was rapidly collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions.
Celebrating 25 years of BET, of excellence.
And I'm going to do right in front of y'all, because I know a lot of times, when we get on,
Tyler Perry's revelation didn't just damage Meghan's personal relationships, it struck directly at the financial heart of Archewell and every project she'd carefully nurtured. Within days of the BET Awards speech, Netflix quietly began reevaluating their lucrative multi-million-dollar partnership with Meghan and Harry, recognizing the growing public skepticism surrounding the couple's authenticity. Investors, initially eager to align with Meghan's modern, progressive brand, started withdrawing at an alarming rate. Leaked documents and internal memos soon revealed the full scale of Archewell's financial turmoil. Scheduled hires were abruptly frozen, budgets slashed, and several high-profile internal projects were immediately paused or scrapped entirely. Archewell executives privately described their situation as a crisis, openly acknowledging the existential threat posed by the rapid withdrawal of key financial backers. The consequences extended beyond Hollywood boardrooms and investor meetings. Public sentiment had shifted drastically. Meghan, who once symbolized the ideal of modern female empowerment, suddenly faced widespread doubt about her integrity and motivations. Social media, which once fiercely defended Meghan against any criticism, was now awash in skepticism, memes, and pointed mockery. Hashtags like #Markle Meltdown and #Archewell Crisis trended continuously, reflecting the growing distrust. Most revealing was the staggering poll data indicating a dramatic plunge in public support. Within weeks of Perry's speech, Meghan and Harry's favorability ratings plummeted by over 30% in the United States alone, previously their strongest market. In Britain, their reputation, already weakened by royal controversies, collapsed even further. Sponsors who once eagerly courted Meghan and Harry for brand endorsements quickly distanced themselves, fearing negative associations. For Meghan, the financial unraveling wasn't just a setback, it was an outright disaster. Her entire brand had been built on authenticity, empowerment, and a carefully curated narrative of resilience. But now, potential investors openly questioned her intentions. Instead of empowering, Meghan's presence was becoming toxic, a risk few were willing to take. Internally, Harry and Meghan's marriage reportedly faced strain too, as the mounting pressure took its toll. Friends close to the couple hinted at growing tensions behind closed doors, fueled by their dwindling prospects and relentless negative attention. While Harry publicly remained silent, privately, sources suggested he was desperately trying to salvage whatever remained of their rapidly declining public image. But it seemed too late. Meghan's carefully constructed empire, built through savvy storytelling, strategic partnerships, and high-profile allies, had started to crumble. Tyler Perry's BET Awards speech, once seen as a subtle critique, was now recognized as the catalyst for a financial and reputational meltdown unlike anything Hollywood had witnessed in years. And as Meghan grappled desperately to regain control, an even more disturbing reality emerged. The narrative she'd meticulously built was never truly under her control. It had always been vulnerable, and now it had finally shattered, perhaps irreparably. As the days dragged on following Tyler Perry's BET Awards revelation, Meghan Markle's carefully polished facade didn't just crack, it shattered. The explosive combination of insider accusations, financial setbacks, and widespread public backlash left Meghan reeling from what many were calling an unprecedented identity crisis. Gone was the confident, empowered feminist icon who once commanded magazine covers, primetime interviews, and international respect. In her place stood a woman scrambling to salvage any fragments left of her image. Close insiders described Meghan as oscillating between fury, panic, and disbelief. According to leaked private conversations, she became obsessed with managing the fallout, firing off furious texts and emails to Tyler Perry, accusing him of betrayal, and deliberately humiliating her on a global stage. But Perry, who had once readily responded to every call or message, remained notably silent. This silence, calm, deliberate, and cold, sent a chilling message louder than any spoken word. Meghan was left facing a harsh new reality. She was rapidly losing control of a narrative she'd carefully nurtured for years.
This sort of, even by Meghan's standard, this strange blizzard of activity on social media. Just every 3 seconds of something new, picture of her with a...
Meanwhile, Prince Harry's absence from the escalating public drama became conspicuous. Known for passionately defending his wife in previous controversies, Harry's silence during this monumental crisis spoke volumes. Behind the scenes, insiders reported he felt emotionally exhausted, burned out from years of fighting family battles, managing public perception, and navigating Hollywood's ruthless game. Sources close to Harry quietly revealed that he was privately questioning many decisions made over recent years, particularly regarding their aggressive media strategy. This marital tension only fueled further speculation about their internal dynamics. Rumors hinted at heated private exchanges between the couple, each grappling with their rapidly unraveling plans for a future they once confidently envisioned. Meghan, who thrived on control and clarity, reportedly struggled deeply with this newfound uncertainty. Her very sense of identity had become entangled with public perception, leaving her disoriented and vulnerable now that public sentiment had turned sharply against her. Social media commentary intensified her struggle as hashtags like Meghan Markle exposed and Sussex scandal dominated Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Even her most loyal supporters found themselves questioning their allegiances, torn between previously held admiration and the starkly critical narratives emerging from people like Tyler Perry. Her feminist iconography, long celebrated by progressive media outlets, began to unravel as critics dissected her behavior, motives, and inconsistencies in real time. Harry's silence only amplified Meghan's isolation. With no vocal public defense from her husband, Meghan's brand suffered severe damage. To the outside world, the message was clear. Even Harry, her closest ally, appeared to recognize the gravity and legitimacy of Tyler Perry's accusations. Speculation swirled about the state of their marriage, further fueling negative coverage and tabloid rumors of internal conflict. The identity crisis deepened. Meghan Markle was no longer simply the misunderstood, resilient figure who bravely fled the oppressive weight of royal tradition. Instead, she was now painted as a manipulative, controlling figure who had allegedly exploited friendships, betrayed confidences, and demanded unquestioning loyalty at all costs. Meghan, who had spent years meticulously curating her public image, found herself trapped in a narrative she no longer controlled, facing a backlash stronger and more personal than anything she'd previously endured. As Meghan grappled privately with this profound identity crisis, Hollywood watched closely. Her struggles weren't just personal, they represented a broader reckoning, a dramatic shift in how celebrity culture and public perception intersected. Meghan Markle, once Hollywood royalty, had effectively been dethroned, and the ripple effects were only just beginning. Tyler Perry's BET Awards speech wasn't loud or overtly aggressive, but it didn't need to be. Its impact resonated precisely because it came from a man known for integrity, discretion, and dignity. Perry's quiet, surgical precision had irrevocably exposed Meghan Markle's carefully hidden vulnerabilities, sparking an industry-wide reckoning that reshaped how Hollywood dealt with celebrities and their carefully crafted narratives. In the aftermath, Meghan Markle became a cautionary tale, Hollywood's stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can reverse when authenticity is questioned. The consequences extended far beyond Meghan and Harry themselves. Hollywood executives, PR specialists, and influential industry figures began carefully re-examining their relationships, wary of aligning with figures whose personal narratives might not hold up under scrutiny. Archewell, once touted as a groundbreaking media enterprise, now faced an uncertain future. Investors, sponsors, and potential collaborators hesitated, wary of tying their reputations to a brand steeped in controversy and mistrust. Projects were canceled, stalled, or quietly shelved as the once powerful Sussex brand became synonymous with risk rather than reward. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle herself faced an uncertain path forward. The carefully managed identity she once relied on was fractured, her credibility severely damaged. Rebuilding trust would take years, perhaps decades, and might never fully recover. Prince Harry, similarly, found himself at a personal and professional crossroads, caught between loyalty to his wife and recognition of a profound mistake in their strategic approach to public life.
Is outside the prince's home in London, Kensington Palace.
Yet beyond Meghan and Harry's personal crisis lay a broader cultural moment. Tyler Perry's carefully chosen words hadn't just criticized a former friend, they sparked a larger dialogue about celebrity culture, authenticity, and the hidden transactional nature of Hollywood friendships. His subtle rebellion served as a wake-up call, challenging Hollywood's superficial alliances, exposing the hidden mechanics of privilege and entitlement, and forcing many to question their own complicity in maintaining these illusions. For audiences around the globe, Meghan Markle's fall from grace wasn't merely entertainment. It became an opportunity to question the nature of public personas, carefully curated images, and the reality behind glamorous facades. Meghan's story became a powerful example of how quickly fame can shift, how swiftly public opinion can change, and how easily powerful figures can lose control of their narratives when honesty and humility are compromised. Tyler Perry's subtle yet devastating speech didn't just change Meghan Markle's life. It forced Hollywood, and indeed society itself, to reconsider what it truly values in those it elevates to positions of fame and influence. In the end, Meghan Markle's greatest legacy might not be the progressive figure she imagined herself as, but rather the harsh lesson she inadvertently taught. Authenticity, humility, and genuine gratitude will always outlast entitlement, manipulation, and carefully manufactured illusions.